Buyers, listen up. When I say there's huge opportunity right now, I mean it wholeheartedly.
There's two houses in this neighborhood that are our direct competition, similar size, similar price range. Both of these properties are a little rough around the edges, number one, and both of them are completely vacant, unstaged. And I'm telling you, man, from pictures, first impression, even when you actually tour the property, it makes a big difference. Sounds like right now that you're not being a loan officer. It sounds like right now you're being an underwriter.
That's right. That's the difference. One of my favorite sports in the world is correcting an underwriter. I've been doing it for longer than a lot of them, and it is my favorite thing to call them up and act stupid. Like, let me ask you this, and they eventually come around. I don't have to tell them that they're wrong. They find out themselves. But it's my favorite sport, and the reality is I have more experience than the majority of underwriters out there.
I've always been a fan of pricing it a little bit on the aggressive side with the hopes of getting multiple offers and selling it quick. So we listed it at $599. End result, we got 2 offers and sold it for $20,000 above list price.
Incredible.
All right, man. Legacy Lounge. Sometimes people want to talk.
We have an incredible guest here.
What's up, brother?
The definition of the Legacy Lounge is stuff that he's putting together. He's a great community leader. His story is amazing.
All right, so I'm just going to get right into it. I have an apology.
Okay.
From this day forward, for the rest of our lives, I will never make any Golden State Warriors predictions.
Do you see I didn't reach back out to you after that? I know you know, they were rolling and you're trying to give props. I'm like, dude, do not.
Takeaways, because I just want to, again, like for the people listening, there's levels to this basketball stuff. You played college basketball. You were a prodigy in high school. I can say you were a prodigy because of Ray Young. You were better than what you probably think you were. And I was like I was going to say Bill Laimbeer. I can't give myself that much praise. But, I was just a utility role player. So there are levels to this. So I want to just kind of tap into a real Hooper's knowledge for a second.
Okay.
We got the Timberwolves and Thunder coming up.
Yep.
I think that there's an immense amount of hype around the Timberwolves.
Okay.
Anthony Edwards is really good.
He is.
I think the Thunder will beat the Timberwolves, and I think SGA, in my humble opinion, is just a step above, which is, it's kind of hard to be a step above Anthony Edwards. He's really good.
Yep.
And then finally, I just think that they're a deeper team. The Thunder just are a deeper roster.
I'm not a big fan of Minnesota. They got Ant-Man and a bunch of good players. So I fully agree that Oklahoma's a better team.
Wow. So are you taking Oklahoma over the Timberwolves?
Yeah, Timberwolves, let's be real, man. They got lucky playing the Lakers, who don't guard anybody. And then 2 minutes after you say the Golden State Warriors are going to be good, Steph pulls his hamstring. Thank you, Chris. So they have, I didn't think they would be in the conference finals again.
Do you think Jimmy played the way he played because he was injured?
Maybe. Here's the thing. He does his dirty work around the basket, and Gobert made a big difference in how he scores. You see him get to the hole, but not pull up shots in the middle of it. And, we don't have the firepower around him without Steph around. Like, the whole defense is different, and it was tough to watch, man, but they just don't have the firepower without Steph. Makes the game easy, and I've been saying that. Now the whole world saw what type of impact he is just running around there, and how literally the wave of defenders shifts wherever he goes. It's crazy.
You're not winning without Steph. It's just the bottom line.
Who is winning without their best player?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's all good.
So now let's transition to the East because I want to hear your thoughts on this. Well, you can't be. It is surprising the Cavs and Celtics are eliminated
Big time.
However, Tatum out, kind of not a surprise. But
they were already down when Tatum went out, though.
Yeah,
so
for
I'm
sure.
like,
but I wouldn't have counted them out if Tatum
Yeah.
was healthy.
Agreed.
What are you more surprised at, the Pacers or the Knicks?
I would, man, I don't know who I can say I'm more surprised. Nobody thought either of them would be here
In the finals.
in the finals.
Well, here's the wild thing, though. The Pacers, is this their second or third year in a row in the Eastern Conference Finals? I think it's, I don't know.
Second.
Second, okay. I don't know, man. I think that I'm more surprised with the Knicks than I am the Pacers. But, man, the Knicks have that entire city on their shoulders right now.
It's crazy, man.
And Jalen Brunson is just a certified dog.
He is. He is super clutch, man.
Who do you have in the Eastern Conference?
Man, I know New York is going crazy, but I really like Indiana, man. That's a team that ain't scared of the moment. Yeah, they were in the Eastern Conference Finals last year, but let's be real, it's just because they just hadn't saw Boston yet. This year we thought Cleveland and Boston, somebody had to go through those, and we didn't think it was going to be anybody other than one of those two being in the finals. Indiana really surprised me. Yes, Cleveland had some injuries, but that felt like they handled them.
How good is this for basketball, getting the Pacers and the Knicks in the Eastern Conference Finals?
I was just kind of talking about this. That sounds fine and dandy, but it's not a lot of star power left, man. I'm not sure how good this is for the league.
Really? I don't know, man. I absolutely love it. I mean,
And there's a lot of Hoopers like it and everything like that. It's just not a lot of star power. I'm anticipating the ratings being lower.
to me, I'm going to be even more plugged in just because
You miss Halliburton.
Halliburton versus Brunson, and there's
Ooh.
this. I don't know, man. The Pacers and Knicks is a lot of dogs on both teams, and
I'm excited.
Yeah.
I'm just not sure everybody else is. That's all that I'm saying. I like seeing this. I'm still wasn't 100% on board with Oklahoma City being able to do it just because they're so young. And I've seen some cracks in the armor though. Like I'm not hella confident about them beating Ant-Man because they've come back down to earth. Playoffs is different, man. Playoffs is absolutely different.
Thunder. I'll just go out on a limb here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there were some kinks. However, the Thunder had the biggest challenge of anyone in the playoffs outside of the Knicks. But Tatum got injured.
Yeah.
But all I'm saying is you beat the defending champs. Well, they weren't technically defending, were they? 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
You beat the champs, all right? You got Joker. You got a lot to deal with on that Nuggets team.
Mm-hmm.
So they took some bumps and bruises. It went 7 games. But I'm saying in the finals, I'm predicting Thunder versus Pacers, and I'm seeing the Thunder winning in 6. So that's my prediction.
I actually have the same finals as well, but come on, will we be mad if New York makes it and how crazy that will be? I couldn't even imagine. Them fools almost tore the city down to make it to the conference finals. Imagine what they do if they make it to the finals.
Yeah, it's going to be wild. All right, man. So let's talk some real estate.
Yes.
So fill me in on what your worlds look like over the last month. Sounds like you've been getting busier and busier.
Yeah.
Talk about just kind of what you think the temperature of the market is since you work with so many different buyers and realtors. So fill me in.
I'm seeing the gamut of all kind of things. And what I mean by that, I got real estate investors buying investment properties, multi-units using DSCR financing, debt service coverage ratio financing. Did you know that right now we're getting rates better than owner-occupied rates on debt service coverage ratio properties? So no income. All it is whatever the income on the property. If it more than covers what the payment is. One of my clients, we just closed at a 6.375% on something that was an investment property. And without a buy down, that's not even what owner-occupied rates are for regular conventional.
So they bought an investment property.
Mm-hmm.
Was it did it come with a tenant or no?
It did not come with a tenant, but they do a rental survey to allow us to use what they're going to. So
Interesting.
so that's just that's one part of it. I'm having plenty of buyers that are moving up or moving down, or just trying to get to another location. So they're trying to navigate the sale of their existing home with the next buy. That's coming along. And, the buyers that are out there, there's just a lot of opportunity when it comes to negotiating seller credits right now and being able to close quickly. My last 4 purchases all this month, submission to clear to close, 6 days, 6 days, 7 days, 6 days, 4 in a row.
So I could have wrote a close of escrow and that said 10 days or under?
Correct.
That
It needs to be 10 days just because of the mandatory waiting period. I got my clear to close, took our time getting docs out. Everybody needed to close. I had a 17-day close that I had to make sure everybody was okay closing quicker than that. That's wild.
By the way, one of our very good friends, I didn't even realize this because you stay pretty quiet. You and I are very different how we're wired. You know what I'm saying? But sounds like you just closed a loan with one of our big time homies, Sorrow.
That's right.
And he sent me a text and he said, man, Rene is the man when it comes to loans. I'm guessing that you probably had to get somewhat creative on that one.
Listen, without getting too in the weeds of it all, he's like me. When you have a lot of stuff going on, there's a lot of documentation that you got to put together when you have multiple properties, own your own business, things like that. He falls into that category. Yet, he was one of the submission to clear to close with 6 days.
That's crazy. Yeah, I've given him a couple of my vendors because he's going to be completely remodeling that property and got a good deal, man. I mean,
happy for him.
That's a little too far up the hill for me. But if you're talking hands down top 5 neighborhoods in the Tri-County area, you're going to say El Dorado Hills all day long. So, which kind of leads me to the next thing is, we're seeing a lot of, the activity and how quick properties are moving is starting to change a little bit.
It is.
And we have a stat that I'd like to throw out that I got from Ryan Lundquist that everyone knows and loves, the man when it comes to just market data. He's a seasoned appraiser. One of these stats I thought was very interesting. 56.6% of listings over the last, I believe, month received only one single offer. And 27.4% of pendings saw a price reduction before going into contract.
Man.
So that right there is telling me that properties aren't flying off the shelf. This is another potential opportunity, depending on what location and what type of home you're looking for. But if it fits in that category, what's your thoughts on, you mentioned something earlier. Let's say a property has been on the market for 2 to 3 weeks. Maybe they just get a price reduction. You're a buyer, you tour that home and you like that home and now you want to write an offer on that home. Talk about what's the potential of asking for like a 3% seller credit, and then what can that credit go towards?
Man, buyers, listen up. When I say there's huge opportunity right now, I mean it wholeheartedly. When you have a property that doesn't have an offer on, or even if you're the only offer on, there's a huge ability to negotiate. If you can get the seller to give you some sort of a credit, instead of a price reduction might only drop your payment $50, $100. Dropping the interest rate, no matter if it's temporarily or permanently, can make a humongous difference. So I'll give you one example here. With a 3% seller credit, even though the rates are in the upper 6s still, they're fluctuating right now, you can get a 5 in front of your interest rate permanently if the seller pays for it. And we're seeing that over and over and over again. What's the big thing that builders are doing right now? You tell me. What are they offering?
Credits like crazy. And I just had a client, I'm going to be listing their property in West Sacramento, and when they told me the amount of credits they got that ultimately went towards paying down their interest rate. I think their interest rate got down to like 5.5 or 5.25, something crazy. So
That's crazy. So you can act and buy a regular property in the same fashion that builders are offering to people right now because of that stat that you said. Basically, every other property right now has a huge ability to negotiate because there's not multiple offers out there.
And I'm guessing, I'm not going to put you on the spot, but I'm going to kind of put you on the spot. If rates are, let's say, right around 6.75, and we're talking like a purchase price of 600,000, putting, I don't know, 5% down.
Yeah.
That payment compared to a payment with a rate at 5.99, what do you think super ballpark the difference would be on a monthly payment?
I'm guessing 0.75% difference in the interest rate is going to save you $250 a month. That's what I'm asking.
I mean, times 12, buyers have a potential to get a credit, buy down their rate, potentially get 5.99, and then rates drop. I mean, they're already going to be ahead of the curve, though.
Correct.
So, but man, there are some, with that market data that I just read, I think what it's telling me is, no, I don't read that and say, think that prices are going to start dropping all around.
Not at all.
I think that what I'm looking at is buyers are paying a higher price tag. They deserve to be a little pickier.
They do.
Right? So if I have my listing agent hat on, this is why I'm expressing to my sellers, and I've always expressed this throughout my career when I'm getting ready to sell a house, is you only have one time to make a first impression.
Correct.
But now it's even more so.
Big
I
time.
mean, we can't cut any corners whatsoever. Everything has to be absolutely dialed. I have a listing coming up in West Sacramento, and I'm telling you, like, when we sat at the table to talk about the things that we needed to do to get the property ready for market, it was a battle. Like the things that I was suggesting, it was like, do we really have to do all of those things? And we finally came to an agreement that they're going to be spending about $20,000 to doing things around the property. Because, when you live in a property for 5, 10, 15 years, things are not going to be perfect. So the things that we're doing on this property, we're replacing all of the carpet on the stairs and on the upper floor of the property, all interior paint, landscaping, and then we're also going to be doing professional grout cleaning, and then getting it professionally staged. It's fun.
Big time.
It's huge, and it's crazy that there's 2 houses in this neighborhood that are our direct competition, similar size, similar price range. Both of these properties are a little rough around the edges, number one, and both of them are completely vacant, unstaged. And I'm telling you, man, from pictures, first impression, even when you actually tour the property, it makes a big difference.
100%. And when I hear that, it's not a gimmick. You've always been in that boat about making sure that it looks right the first time. And the reality is, every other property is getting more than one offer, right?
Yep.
If you don't do these things, you're not going to be one of those.
Yep.
When I hear those stats, you know what I think? I think it's a telltale sign of how important it is to be instructed by the right agent. Because if you're not getting this information, if you're not showing it the correct way, yes, it might be a little bit more money up front, but we have data. We worked an open house where it showed beautifully.
Yeah.
And what happened? It went 20 above list, right?
Yeah, and that is kudos. And by the way, I don't think there's many people that listen to our podcast as often as Kyle Lawson. So Kyle, if you're hearing this, man, Rene and I got love for you. Kick his ass. Are you going to see him today?
Today.
Oh, man. Well, hopefully you will have kicked his ass later today in boxing, kickboxing. But they're the exceptions of just what makes my job so much easier. The amount of care and love that they've given to their property over the years has been remarkable. And the result was first of all, I didn't even need to get it professionally staged because their furniture spoke for itself.
Exactly.
So that was a huge bonus. But they did all new interior paint. Outside of all new interior paint, though, everything was the way it was, just for how they cared for the property over the 10 years that they owned it. But we listed it for $599. Thank God they listened to me on price, because we were, kicking the idea of listing it for $615, $620, and I shared with them, if we listed at $615, $620, there's a chance that we might not get an offer right away, and people might send you an offer under list price. I've always been a fan of pricing it a little bit on the aggressive side, with the hopes of getting multiple offers and selling it quick. So we listed it at $599. End result, we got 2 offers and sold it for $20,000 above list price.
Incredible. I don't get out and do many open houses.
Yeah.
To watch people in the reaction as they came through a house that's taken care of that way, similar to when it's staged and similar to where somebody's put a lot of love into the home. We had people that were trying to keep it coy how much they enjoyed it. And I'm like, I know you're loving every bit of this. They were trying to make sure that they can get an offer in without having a bunch of others to go up against. But plenty of them did show how much they appreciated everything they saw on there, and that's why it was easy to sell. One weekend, multiple offers, and there was another one on the way in.
Yeah.
Didn't have to even wait around. So
I always said that your primary residence, when you remodel or do upgrades and updates to your primary residence, the number one reason why you should be doing it isn't because you think you're going to be getting dollar for dollar the day that you potentially sell your home. You do it for your enjoyment, for your family's enjoyment, right? When you remodel a kitchen, when you put an outdoor bar, barbecue with TVs and fans, and all of the things that you want to do to remodel your property to your likings, you first and foremost do it for your enjoyment. The second reason you do it is because if you do sell your house one day, it's going to enable you to sell your house that much quicker. Because when people walk into a property that has nice upgrades, like Kyle's, like Kyle and Carolee's house, the mindset is, oh my gosh, like I can kind of just move right into this property and I don't have to rip it apart.
big time.
So it's going to justify you pricing it a little bit higher. And then, I think the goal always when you're selling a property is sell it for the most amount of money in the quickest amount of time.
Correct.
So yeah, kudos to them. But outside of that, man, the last 2 to 3 buyers that I've worked with and just kind of keeping a temperature on the market is we're seeing a lot of listings that are only getting one offer. We're seeing listings where the average days on market before they go pending, we're seeing a lot more common now is 14, 20, 28 days before it goes pending. Kind of like that stat that Lundquist shared where that listing has gone through at least one price reduction before it goes pending. So I think that is positive for buyers that are out there that could potentially be asking for things like seller credits. And I think you also just, maybe look at it like that's a small window to just take advantage of that. And if you're a seller, just be very diligent of not overpricing your home from the start, because you only get one chance to price it right, and making sure that it's in really, really good condition. So
big time. We've always talked about there's a lot of pent up energy in our market, right? People who didn't want to get off that low interest rate, but they really do want to move to another area, want to get around different schools, need to upgrade because they got families, or empty nesters and they need to downgrade. People have been putting that on hold. So when you're seeing the uptick in listings, that's why.
Yep. Also, just want to give a little shout out. It's crazy ironic how this all worked out, but there's a reason why I always am pro working with a local direct lender, right? Because, whether it's a first-time buyer or what have you, when you're going on the internet and you're kind of shopping on your own and you find a lender that's out of state, chances are they don't have a working rapport with the agents out here. That's number one. I've always been a fan of, like, I've always said this. I want to be in proximity to my lender where if I need to choke them, I can choke them, right? I'm not going to get on a plane and fly, and fly to another state, you know what I'm saying, if the lender's doing a horrible job. But I know that you guys have been working, the brokerage that you own, correct me if I'm wrong, but your top gun, your top lender that you send the majority of all your loans to is UWM.
Correct.
And over the years that you've been working with them, safe to say you have a little bit of leverage with UWM.
Big time.
Right? And so, you know, just for buyers that are listening out there, I have a absolutely adorable buyer. She has been probably one of the best buyers I've ever worked with. She's incredible. And she unfortunately got a bad apple. And it was a lender that was out of state, didn't even properly read the purchase contract. Kind of turned into a nightmare. Long story short, had to switch lenders. And the lender that he switched to happened to be UWM.
Okay.
So funny enough too, man, like switched to UWM, boom, boom, 3-4 days later, CD goes out, slam dunk. But I had to pull out the card, you know, during that time. Like, you know, I have a guy's name in my saved in my cell phone who is high up over there at UWM. So talk a little bit about real quick, just, you know, you mentioned getting deals pumped out in 6 days, 7 days, and just the benefit of what you have working with that bank.
It's game changing. The top priority inside of our office is the client experience. And yes, we are approved with 30 plus banks. I have what we call the Walmart of loan lenders, you know, low price, but man, you can't even get an underwriter on the phone and everything like that. And over my 23 plus years, I've chased rate on behalf of clients to get the lowest available out there, and it's turned into nightmares. So I've always, especially recently, leaned towards using those type of lenders, possibly for when refinances happen, when we're on less of a time crunch. But when the purchase happens, you want to be right there with the best rate, but maybe it's not the low price lead. It's going to be right there. But if you can close it and have a great client experience and meet all times, you're in a maximum position to negotiate. I know a lot of the times you do it all the time, and a lot of my agents do it all the time. We get everything and the loan is in place quick, but stuff pops up on, let's say, an inspection or anything like that. How hard is it to negotiate when you don't have anywhere close to a clear to close, when you're like, hey, maybe we can get a seller credit, get a buy down because the loan is in place? Doesn't that set you up for the right thing when everything is fast?
100%.
So because of that, we are able to save people money, even if it's not the low price leader. Now we can negotiate a buy down to beat the low price leader just because of the speed, and everybody's happy in the process. I've literally multiple times over the last month and a half, I've been sent loans for me to try to save. I'm blown away by some of the pre-approvals that other lenders get when it should have never been approved. I can't make magic happen, but I can get you answers quick. And unfortunately, once I get into the weeds on the qualifications for this one last specific client, you know, we had to sit down and talk and say, you never should have been approved for this amount from the beginning. And I'm not sure why it wasn't there. And she's so thankful that I was able to break it down. Why? Because she was denied and didn't even really know why. And I showed her not only why, but why it should have never been approved. And this is what the real approval amount is. And now she has no questions. We have to go after a different purchase price, but the heartache, the deposits, the inspections that she spent money on through some other person, that's the difference.
It trickles down and it affects everyone.
Everyone.
So I'm guessing that when things like that happen, it's, I don't know, I would probably categorize it in common sense mixed with just the level of the loans that you're doing. You know, as a lender, there's probably some guys out there that maybe aren't closing a ton of loans.
They just don't know. I think they have good intentions, but if you're not seasoned on the ins and outs, if you don't know how to truly calculate income, I mean, it's some basic stuff. Calculating income, it sounds probably easy to everybody listening, But the reality is, if I see a pay stub and I see some overtime and I see some bonus, everybody, the inexperienced ones are like, all right, this is
Done.
what your income is.
Yeah.
Unless you get a verification of employment or the last pay stub of the last 2 previous years and show what the average amount of bonus or overtime is. Let me give you this example. We're in the middle of this year. I get the last pay stub from last year. Everybody else is still thinking I can use that overtime. If I get the last pay stub from the previous year and they weren't getting overtime that year, I can't use any overtime in my calculation.
Sounds like right now that you're not being a loan officer. It sounds like right now you're being an underwriter.
That's right. That's the difference. One of my favorite sports in the world is correcting an underwriter. I've been doing it for longer than a lot of them, and it is my favorite thing to call them up and act stupid, like, let me ask you this. And they eventually come around. I don't have to tell them that they're wrong. They find out themselves. But it's my favorite sport. And the reality is I have more experience than the majority of underwriters out there.
Yeah, so I'm going to take this podcast, this episode, and this is now going to be our new buyer consultation, right?
I love it.
I mean,
I love it.
I mean, here's the thing. I would rather have a buyer come to your office or speak with you over the phone and have it take 3 months for whatever reason, back, forth, I don't know, before you give me the green light, knowing though that when you give me the green light, it's literally a done deal. What I don't want to have happen is 2 weeks into the escrow, know that we have some serious issues. You got to change lenders. By the way, now the buyer's probably dealing with that anxiety. You know, the relationships that involved, it's a trickle-down effect. So
how about this? I mean, you already know you're my biggest, advertising out there. You always try to get your clients out there. But when you have clients, I can promise them I'm not trying to steal the loan. I don't need to do the loan for you. But when you're pre-approved, get the stuff in front of me so I can at least do a thorough second check of what it is. I'm going to give you zero pressure. My thing is I want you to have smooth escrows.
Yep.
I care about you, Chris.
So what I need from you in the next couple hours is just a referral. So just give me a referral because I know that you care about me and I care about you. And let's just make this thing happen.
I'm in.
Nate, did you get that on record? Okay. Well, this has been fun, brother. I know that you are a proud papa this Sunday. Talk about what you got going on this Sunday. Maybe I'm hoping I can see a little bit of tears on Sunday.
Listen, Thursday, my firstborn, my girl, she graduates. We're having an incredible graduation party on Sunday that you're going to be coming back from Santa Barbara and is going to make it at. And you know what? When I know how much happens behind the scenes to get to this point, and when you have all those people in the same place celebrating your girl, your firstborn, I don't know how it can't be some tears, man. I don't cry for sad stuff. I cry for happy stuff, man. And I'm super proud of her. But there's so many people that will be there that I care about and helped me get to this finish line of high school. But I lean on a lot of people around me for what goes on with the kids. So it's going to be an emotional weekend.
Where's the graduation at?
Golden One.
Oh, Golden One.
Yeah, I got Kings Row. I got Kings Row's tickets.
And this is just a super serious question. Do thugs cry?
I'm not a thug, so I've heard.
Well, shout out to Lexi. Man, Lexi's the shit. And I will say that when I came to her game, unfortunately, they didn't get the W. But I've seen her play. She's incredible. Can't wait to go to one of her college games. That's going to be next level.
Yeah.
But she said something that I think I shared with you that I'm needing to take because this is something that I struggle with. But she said something along the lines of, "Dad, you're such an amazing father, and you do so much for all of us, and you never want any credit for it."
Mm.
And that's a testament to being a humble, great father. So
I'm glad she sees it as well, man. Like, it's one of those things, us hoopers used to always, be like, you weren't in the gym at 6 a.m. Like a lot of people want to be there when it's celebration time. I want to be the opposite. I want to move to the background when it's celebration time because it's her time now.
Yep.
But you know who was there when there was no celebrating and when it was hard to get up in the mornings and hard to push through and frustration? That's where I was. So I'm glad she saw it, and that's what it's all about.
Well, I'm ready to see Kenji on Sunday.
Yes,
I'm ready.
sir.
Ready for some good food, and
And if you see Chris anytime soon, make sure you wish him a happy birthday.
let's go. Big 4-2. We're out.